is often sold to us as a natural, inevitable destiny, a sacred rite of passage. But beneath the glossy parenting blogs and the wholesome TikToks, there is a much darker reality. Millions upon millions of women are exhausted, unsupported, and deeply unhappy. The singer Chappell Roan recently spoke about this, and she said that all of her friends who are mothers are actually miserable. Let's watch a TikTok.
All of my friends who have kids are in hell. I actually don't know anyone who's like happy and has children at this age. I literally have not met anyone who's happy, anyone who has like light in their eyes, anyone who has slept.
Her words resonated with some people, and with others it created a viral firestorm of backlash. People on one hand agreed with her words not because they were radical, but because they were honest. Behind closed doors, many women are drowning, and this is something that just isn't talked about enough. And it's just an open fact and something that we all kind of realise, but it's something that we turn a blind eye to. Instead, our culture tells them that they're not grateful enough, or that they're simply just not doing enough. Once the baby is here, the support seems to just fade away because the excitement seems to go, because suddenly the baby is here and now that's that, it's here. So what else is there really to do? And there's a major thing that needs to be done, and that is support for the mother, and support that has to be actually incredibly strong, because this is a time when it is needed the most. Let's watch a TikTok from Laura Cleary.
Moms are struggling mentally, but it's not because we don't love our kids, and it's not because we don't love being moms. It's because we're unsupported, and we're oftentimes doing it alone, and we have to carry the biggest mental load. I think that what people were missing from Chappell's comment was empathy. It wasn't like, oh, my friends who have kids are in hell, they're not happy. Why do we think that is? You know, how can we help them? There was like none of that. There was no interest or concern in the systemic issues behind why women seem to be in hell and unhappy. So I think it was just lacking empathy. It was just like, oh, they're in hell, they're not happy. There was no compassion or empathy for her friends who are struggling.
As she has said, there is a severe lack of support, and she also talks about Chappell Roan's seemingly lack of empathy, and I think that something needs to be clear here, which is something that she didn't actually touch upon. Maybe it's something that she didn't know, but it is something that was in the comments, and it is that the interviewer did previously ask Chappell Roan whether she wanted children herself, and this was her response. So in a way, this is her own personal story, this is her own personal opinion, and obviously you can't fault her for that. She is seeing what is around her, and she is seeing that there is a lot of struggle, that there is a lot of women who are unsupported, and therefore she is kind of making that decision to possibly not have children because of the real struggle that it is. But yeah, obviously Laura talks about the severe mental load, the fact that it is something that is sometimes entirely unsupported, yet it is one of the biggest things you will ever go through, and also the fact that this is just an open secret in a way. However, on the other hand, this TikToker had other thoughts to what Chappell Roan said.
All of my friends who have kids are in hell. I actually don't know anyone who's like happy and has children at this age. I have like,
that clip actually makes me emotional to listen to. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because I know that's what a lot of the younger generation is listening to, and it's so far from the truth. I don't care who her friends are. I truly think that it is her perspective of like, you are misunderstanding hard work and hard days for hell. Don't actually make me mad right now. Is hell your child locking eyes with you across from a room and you immediately seeing them relax because they know they're safe in your presence? Is hell your child coming up to you and saying, "Love you, Mom"? Is hell the sound of little children whispering in the morning in their bed because they know they're not supposed to get up yet, but they're awake? Is that what hell sounds like? I'm so confused. Is hell your child asking for help? That's not hell. Owie, okay? So hi, if you've never seen one, here she is, a young mom of 3 children that didn't get any sleep last night. That's happy, life in her eyes and joy in her heart.
clearly she takes issue with the word hell here, which I can kind of understand, because to describe motherhood as hell is probably something that is a bit too strong. It's like the word hate. Hate does get thrown around a lot these days, but to actually truly hate something or hate someone takes a lot. It is a strong emotion, it's a strong feeling. But what she is saying here is it's not hell, but it's tough. And I think that's something that a lot of these women are trying to communicate here, is that no, I wouldn't swap being a mother for anything in the world, because I love it and I love my children, but the actual part of being a mother can be incredibly hard. And that's something that we all, I think, realise, but something that you don't actually realise probably until you are a mother, a parent yourself. She obviously talks about all of the beautiful things that there are as well, like, you know, the kids being in bed and then whispering before they're meant to be getting up because they know that they're not meant to be up yet, and all these little things and all these little moments about being a mother and motherhood, which just make it perfect in a way, even though it's not. And so I think that is one of these things that is really hard to describe. It is one of life's strange things where, yes, it's very hard, yes, it's very tough, but it's one of those things that it's like nothing easy is worth doing. And I think when it comes to parenting and motherhood, this certainly seems to be the case, especially this is what this woman is saying here. I think overall, you've got to bear in mind that Chappell Roan was talking in a way about her own personal experience, and for that you can't really fault her with talking about this, but this did go incredibly viral and got people talking about motherhood in general, which I think is a very productive thing, because there's always going to be mothers, there's forever going to be mothers, and it is a very important discussion to be had to talk about how we can further support, how we can create a world that is better suited for children and for mothers to work productively, to live productively, to do the things that they want to do, and to be able to thrive in that role as well. Now let's have a look at some of the anti-baby rhetoric that has been going around in the last couple of years. Women are openly speaking about not wanting to be mothers. They are expressing their right to just say, no, I don't want this, and as a result of that, there has been some intense backlash. Some say that anti-baby rhetoric isn't about hating children, but it is instead taking a stance against viewing women solely as their reproductive abilities and their reproductive outputs, even as that system fails to support mothers in every possible way. One thing is for sure, and that is that reproduction and protection is heavily placed on women. We all know that there is one barrier method that men use. Other than that, it is generally down to the woman. And this seems entirely disproportionate. There is birth control, which does sometimes wreak havoc on your hormones and your emotions, and your mood swings are just crazy. There is also the painful IUD, because for some reason we're not giving women the ability to actually have any sort of anesthetic to actually numb that area, because it's incredibly painful. For some reason, we've decided we're not going to do that. Strange, but anyway, there's implants, there's all sorts of things, there's injections, everything comes down to the woman. And on top of that, there's also the fear of unplanned pregnancy, and also the entire physical, emotional, mental effects that come with the possibility of thinking even just about an abortion, if that is something that is what the woman wants to do and what they as a partnership want to do. On top of that, the cost of raising a child from birth to the age of 18 is £202,660 according to the Child Poverty Action Group. Yes, this is till the age of 18, which is technically when they are an adult. However, does this mean that the financial aid stops? No, of course not. I mean, generally, especially right now, because again, I cannot do a video without mentioning that there is a cost of living crisis. You are just having to be reliant on your parents in a lot of ways for a lot of things, which is not how you want it to be. You want to feel independent. You don't want to have to rely on your parents for handouts, for possible inheritance, to be able to afford a car, to get a house, to be able to move on in your life, but that is what is happening. And so even more now, you are relying on your parents for that support. And the marriage rate in the UK, but worldwide, has declined significantly, meaning that although lots of parents and lots of people can, of course, have relationships without marriage and raise children perfectly fine, it does mean that there are more single mothers who are having to burden all of the cost of having a child, which inevitably adds to that major struggle. Not to mention the whole actual giving birth scenario, pregnancy, the fact that your body changes completely, your hormones are again here, there and everywhere, and the symptoms are pretty horrible. So is it actually surprising that there is this anti-baby rhetoric that has been going on in the last couple of years? No. However, because of this, there has also been a lot of backlash to this anti-baby rhetoric online. For example, there are a lot of people who are saying, well, at least I'm not pregnant, or this is a bigger win than pregnancy. Let's watch a TikTok. So as she says in the text, it says, we have to celebrate wins that are outside of getting married and having kids, with the text above saying this is a much bigger win than pregnancy. Some of the comments underneath were a little bit mixed. Some were in agreement, saying congratulations, saying this is great. Others were saying that this is actually wrong, it's hurtful and incredibly unproductive. Let's have a look. One of the comments says, the caption is so degrading for women who want to have children. There are different wins for everybody. Just because some of them look different doesn't mean the other one is lesser than the other. Another comment says, and since when is belittling other people's joys become part of celebrating your achievement? Another one says, maybe let's stop putting women with different goals against each other and celebrate all of their wins wholeheartedly. Something which is also quite interesting is that a lot of this anti-baby rhetoric is also coming at a time when tradwives are also trending. So you've got on one side people wanting absolutely nothing to do with children, and on the other side you've got women really, but obviously men as well, saying that having children is the only and best thing that you will ever do. Let's watch a TikTok. So as you can see, this woman is a self-described tradwife, baby on hip, Trump is president, all things in life seem to be going good for her. And I don't know this woman's life, but from her accent, she seems to be an Australian or a New Zealander, and also she's a business owner. But as you can see here, she is portraying this idea of tradwifism, of this kind of conservative idea of the family at the top, this traditional idea of these values of the nuclear family, of having children and placing a lot of importance on that, which is completely fair enough. You do what you want to do. But the thing is here is that this does create quite an extreme end, and I think what we found out from a lot of these video essays that I've done recently is that there is quite an extreme on the internet. People like to put themselves in boxes, and so you have this box of being a tradwife, of being all for family, and being, you know, into those kind of conservative values, and it's kind of like an all or nothing attitude. Or you've got the other end, which is about not wanting children, despising the idea of having children, and just seeing it as something that is kind of like a waste of time or whatever. So in this way, you've got these two complete other ends, and people are thinking that they need to be directly one or the other. People are seeing the tradwife lifestyle, thinking that they have to stay at home, they have children, and all these types of things, and saying, I don't want this at all, and so they're going to the complete opposite end. Things like that. But let me know your thoughts down below about why you think this is all servicing at the moment. Let's have a little look at motherhood without a net, because it certainly doesn't have one. For example, the US has no federal paid maternity leave, and paternity leave in the UK is maximum 2 weeks paid. So obviously this offers little support for the new mother having to be on her own for longer periods without the support of her husband, partner, or whoever. Childcare can cost more than a mortgage. In the US, healthcare for pregnant women is inconsistent and often dangerous, especially for Black mothers. Mental health support for postpartum depression, it is limited, expensive, and stigmatized. There is a lot of things at the minute, for example, with Trump and JD Vance saying that they want America to have more children and there to be more babies. But the realistic thing is that having a baby, it does take a village. And at the minute, you can't even have your actual husband with you for very long. There is no time and there is no help. Motherhood is a job. I don't think that that's really a question. It certainly is a job. But it is a job that is highly underappreciated, undervalued, it is unpaid, and it means that a lot of women are entirely unsupported. It is one of the hardest jobs in the world, and it is a job that you can never clock out of. Once you're a mother, you are a mother forever. Celebrate her, value her just as much as you are this little baby. I couldn't really do this video without mentioning the fact that reproductive rights are under siege. They always have been, and they always will be, it seems. And even now, the right to not become a mother is disappearing. For the USA, since the fall of Roe versus Wade, many women across multiple states in the US are having to have children when they are physically, emotionally, mentally, financially unprepared to do so. Whatever your stance on abortion is for whatever reason, this is simply just stating the facts that women do have less access than they did previously due to the fall of Roe versus Wade. But also, women are not able to be sterilized as easily as men are as well. In fact, they are turned down all of the time for saying, I don't want to have children and I shouldn't have to have children and I don't want the fear of having children because of an unplanned pregnancy. And so they're saying this with their, full frontal lobe development. And they're going in there to these doctors and they are saying, I know what I want and it's not that. Yet they're being turned down. Let's have a look at a Guardian story from 2015. The first time I asked for a permanent end to my fertility, I was 26. I was recently out of a long relationship where we both agreed on a child-free life and back on the dating scene. Explaining my child-free stance to a stranger after stranger was wearing, but made me think hard about why I'd made my choice. As I repeatedly explained, I've probably put more thought into my decision not to have children than many people put in their decision to have them. The condescension came thick and fast. You're too young, you'll change your mind, who'll look after you in your old age, how can any woman not want children, how can you be so selfish? Even people who only seemed interested in casual dating would instantly lose interest when I mentioned my disinclination to reproduce. One man walked away in the middle of a 3-minute speed dating session because I didn't want to be a mother. Clearly, other people felt as strongly about my decision as I did. Unfortunately, so did the first GP I spoke to. He trotted out all the usual comments to strong opposition, followed by telling me he couldn't, in good conscience, make a permanent decision when I was still so young. Having hoped for at least an in-depth discussion before being rejected, I was disappointed but not surprised. Resigned to another year of side effects on the pill, I asked the GP to put a comment in my medical notes so I could build a stronger case later. Let's have a look at the myth of fulfillment. Because the scam of motherhood isn't motherhood itself, it is the promise of fulfillment for every single woman. That it's a universal path to happiness. That not choosing to have children is actually incredibly selfish, unnatural, and if you choose to do that, you're broken in some type of way. In reality, many mothers love their children with every fibre of their being, but at the same time deeply regret a lot of the things that motherhood has taken away from them. And I think two of these things, they can exist at the same time, but it seems like nobody wants to hear this. Being a mother is not for everyone, and this should be respected. And also there are women that for them motherhood is everything. It's the biggest goal in their life, and that too should be respected. It seems like we need to strive towards a world that listens when women like Chappell Roan's friends say that they feel overwhelmed. To create a world where motherhood is chosen, safe and supported, or not pursued at all. Talking about the rejection of motherhood shouldn't be a taboo, and at the same time, neither should talking about how it does break a lot of women down. Having this honesty would be so revolutionary, because silence isn't strength, and pretending that everything is fine doesn't help anyone, least of all these mothers who are struggling. What do you think about the scam of motherhood and also Chappell Roan's comments? Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!